I would like to first address some of the points my opponent made. The cheapness of nuclear, the benefits to the environment of nuclear, and the catastrophes that have come from fossil fuels. First, cost. The affirmative stated that nuclear energy is cheaper than fossil fuels. While in the end, nuclear may be slightly cheaper than fossil fuels, the capital needed to build a plant is extremely expensive and is not possible for developing countries to pay. Second, environmental benefits. Outside of Finland, there are no reliable plans to recycle the vast amounts of nuclear waste generated by fission. And no, nuclear power does not have zero carbon emissions. There is a vast amount of carbon emitted when mining and transporting the elements used in nuclear fission. While it may not be as much as fossil fuels, it is still there. Lastly, the catastrophes that have come from both fossil fuels and nuclear. While there are some accidents involving fossil fuels, like oil spills, fossil fuels have never displaced thousands of people, and definitely never displaced thousands of people in a single accident. We have the technology to clean up oil spills. But at this time, it is impossible to clear up a nuclear disaster, of which we had 7 in the last 80 years. And of course there are going to be more accidents with fossil fuels as we use it more than nuclear. But if we start using nuclear more, we will see an increase in the number of accidents on the scale of Chernobyl. Moving on to the large economic and environmental benefits of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels can solve some of our biggest environmental problems. It can purify our air and water, and it can make our cities and homes more sanitary. To start with air quality, there has been a dramatic downward trend in emissions, even though we are using more fossil fuels than ever. This is due to advancing technology in cleaning up the air and advancing technology on factories. Water quality. There is a direct correlation between an increase in fossil fuel use and an increase in the percentage of the population with access to clean water. This is due to the fact that it takes a tremendous amount of energy to provide this water. In developed countries, we take it for granted that we can turn on a sink and clean, drinkable water will come out. We don't see the energy that is needed to move, purify, and provide the water you drink. And it needs to be a cheap energy source that is easy to get started. This energy comes from fossil fuels. Nuclear can't do that. Sanitation. There is also a direct correlation between the use of fossil fuels and cleaner cities. Even though we are using more fossil fuels, we have cleaner, better cities. And now to confront the biggest problem with fossil fuels, climate change. We have to start by defining our terms. There is mild climate change, and there is world-ending climate change. There is no argument whether fossil fuels contributes to climate change. They do. But is the climate warming dangerously fast? In 1986, NASA climate scientist James Hansen stated that if we don't change our current practices, the climate will have warmed by 2 to 4 degrees by 2000. And there are many other doomsday predictions like this, some of them much worse. But none of this has happened. We haven't seen a 2 to 4 degree increase, even though we have been releasing more carbon dioxide. This is why we hear less about global warming and more about climate change. And has this climate change made our world more dangerous? The most important statistic that you rarely see is climate-related deaths. How many people die each year from droughts, floods, storms, and extreme weather? While our CO2 emissions have rapidly escalated, the number of climate-related deaths has dropped by 98%. This is due to now developed countries having used fossil fuels to rapidly build up infrastructure and have a durable civilization. This allows these countries to be much more resilient to extreme weather. Developing countries would like to do the same, but to do this, they need the cheapest, fastest, and easiest energy available, fossil fuels. The cost of switching to nuclear outweighs the benefits. Until the cost of starting a nuclear plant decreases, they are not a viable source of energy. Thank you.